Good morning. Got my microphone back on. I don't know if it works, but let's try it. So as you know, in case maybe you don't know, our cinemas are back open. We have social distancing in place, which means every pair of seats is available, and then the following pair is not, and then it is, and then it isn't, and then in the other alternate rows it's the other way around. So it looks like a checkerboard. So not a lot of people can see a movie, but not a lot of people are going to the movies still. They don't trust it. And the issue really, I think the issue really is not so much as a trust here in Hong Kong, because we haven't had that many infections, and we've only had 4 deaths. I'm sorry, I don't want to say only, but only. The trouble is, there's nothing to see, really. There's not a lot. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about The Peanut Butter Falcon, which was a really good movie. If you haven't seen it yet, do check it out. It is available on Netflix. I mean, I saw it on Netflix months ago. So, but now it's in the cinemas here. I think that's probably the best film here in Hong Kong that's playing right now. This week we've got a couple of foreign, well, got more than a couple, we've got quite a few foreign films, i.e. non-English language films. Because everything non-Hong Kong is foreign. So non-English language films. I haven't seen them all because I was busy this week. But I have seen a few, and I'll talk about 2 of them now. The first one is Wet Season, a Singaporean film. This is the sophomore effort, the second movie by Anthony Chen. He came out with his first film, Ilo Ilo, what, about 6 years ago, I think, and won lots of awards for that. So he's back, and he's brought back a couple of his actors from that film, including Malaysian actress Yeo Yan Yan, who played the mother in the film, and here she plays a teacher. And he brought back Ko Jiao Ler, who's Singaporean, and he was a little boy in the film, and now he's a big teenager in the film. So he's back with these people. So the story with Wet Season, it's about Malaysian-born Ling, who's played by Yeo Yan Yan. She's a Mandarin teacher at a Singapore school, where both she and the subject that she teaches are undervalued by both her colleagues and the students alike. Now, I find, living here in Hong Kong, I find that very funny, very strange, because I think Mandarin teacher here, our stupid government ministers would be tripping over each other to praise her as a comrade and as a patriot and all this other BS. So as I find it interesting, I don't know if this is true, but I find it interesting that a Mandarin teacher in Singapore would not be so endeared to the people and to her colleagues and to her students. But anyhow, to add to her woes, she's been trying to have a baby with her husband for a number of years without success, and now her scumbag husband he's not into her anymore. He's not into it. And even worse, for her, she has to look after his father, his invalid father, while the husband goes around and plays golf. Where have we heard that before? Honey, I'm going to play golf, but it's raining. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Come on. So, being the dedicated teacher that she is, she takes The Shining to Kwok Wei-lun, who is Ko Jera's character, and he is a latchkey student who's more interested in wushu than, well, I don't know if that's wushu. Wushu than his studies. And she offers him remedial tuition. For free, of course, because that's the kind of person that she is. And as the weeks go by, with each afternoon monsoon shower, the 2 lonely hearts grow closer as they believe they can satisfy each other's unspoken and unfulfilled needs. That's all I'll say. That's all that needs to be said about this movie. Because, sadly, this movie, Wet Season, is completely predictable after the first 5 minutes. And audiences are left waiting for what feels like an eternity for the inevitable to happen. And even when that inevitable does happen, there's no reckoning to be had. As the film closes, Ling seems quite happy about her situation. But in the real world, she would definitely lose her job, she would lose her teaching career, and she'd probably go to jail for statutory rape. Then there's Wei Lun, who basically raped his teacher. Now, this is a very interesting thing that I thought about afterwards. He raped her. I mean, there's no question. He raped her, but she's the adult, he's the minor. So I think in a court of law, she would be charged with rape, not him. It's very interesting. But anyhow, what must that do to a kid's head to know that he's raped his teacher? You know? So unfortunately, unless Chen is planning on making a sequel to this film, and I don't think he is, we'll never know. You know, Chen, the director, he tries to make Ling a sympathetic character. You know, she's got this crappy marriage, and she wants to have a baby, and she's got to look after her sick father-in-law, and she's, a hard done teacher. And she's a foreigner, okay? She's a foreigner. So, we're supposed to feel sorry for her. But, let's be honest, she's a predator. That's the bottom line. She's a predator. So, you know what? Oh my. So maybe I'm old school though, because critics generally like this film. I'm like, what? You like this film? The film was nominated for 6 Golden Horse Awards. And these days the Golden Horse doesn't carry as much prestige as it used to, because China's fighting with Taiwan, and they've started their own rival awards. But anyhow, it was nominated for 6 awards last November, and Yo, who played Ling, she picked up the statuette for Best Leading Actress. Really? Were the others that much worse? I don't know. The film premiered last September at the Toronto International Film Festival and has been mostly playing the festival circuit. It opened here commercially yesterday. So if you want to see it here in Hong Kong, it's available. I did not like this story at all. I don't want to say I didn't like the film, because look, it was shot well, it was acted well, the lighting was good, the rain effects were good, but I did not like the story. But you know what? I appear to be in the minority. Go figure. So that's called Wet Season from Singapore. Second film I want to talk about is a Japanese film called Mellow, and the Japanese name for this film is Mellow. Really, truly, it's just a Japanese version of Mellow, even though there is a Japanese word for mellow, but it's called Mellow. Now, love is all around. This is Japanese writer-director Rikiya Imaizumi's unintentional, I think this was unintentional comedy. It's billed as a romance, but it's not a romance, okay? And I'll get to that in a second. Now, the story is we have Seiichi Natsume, or I guess he's Natsume Seiichi because his last name first in Japan, and he's played by Kei Tanaka. And, people who go to Japanese movies, they would know who he is. He runs this twee flower shop somewhere in Japan, or maybe it's in Tokyo. I don't know. I don't know that it's in Tokyo, but it doesn't really matter where it is. The 30-something bachelor, he loves his life. It's so simple. It's so uncomplicated. He makes these minimalist arrangements, which is really an overstatement, for his customers. But his life starts to get complicated when one of his customers professes her love for him, in front of her husband, no less. Now, that was actually a funny scene. Then a young high school student confesses her attraction to Seiichi, but she has her own secret admirers to deal with. And then finally there's Kiho, played by Sae Okazaki. She was in a film called Kiss Me at the Stroke of Midnight. And she runs her late father's ramen store where Seiichi goes for lunch every day. She too has a thing for Seiichi, though he remains oblivious to it all, until he doesn't. Until everybody decides they're going to tell him that they love him. Now, as I said, this is billed as a romance, but there's very little romance here, unless you call a bunch of old and young women professing their love to somebody they really don't know all that well romance. This is not romance in my book. This is what I would call an unintentional comedy. My audience was laughing at some of the scenes, and maybe I was too, because they were just so bizarre. They were creepy in a way that the Japanese are so good at. I mean, this is, after all, the country that sells used schoolgirl panties from vending machines. Okay, maybe they're not used anymore. Maybe they're just advertising them as being used. They still have them, So while the central plot involves Seiichi and Kiho, the side plots, to me, were far more interesting, as the director teases the possibility of an approved extramarital affair and a same-sex relationship, even a same-sex three-way, to tell you the truth, only to dial them back and fall back on that well-worn trope of unrequited love. Now, at the very least, Imai Izumi could have made Seiichi gay. I mean, I was just hoping that would be like the icing on the cake, that after all these women tell him that they love him, he would say, I'm gay. But that didn't happen. Now, fortunately, the film isn't a complete washout thanks to the performance of Tamaki Shiratori. She plays Seiichi's wise, beyond her years, 9-year-old niece, Saho. I would have preferred to seeing her smack some sensu into her uncle a few times during the film's 106-minute running time, but maybe that's just my Western sensibility coming out. The kid clearly knows her uncle is thick as a brick, though. I mean, it's like, how dense are you? The big problem with Mellow, there's a lot of problems with Mellow, but the big problem is that it's just too mellow, But fortunately, there's an audience demographic for this film. They're 30-something years old, female single office workers who have rows of Hello Kitty toys, characters, blue tacked on their cubicle dividers. They will love this movie. For the rest of us, however, having root canal might be a more pleasant alternative. I just want to say one more thing. If you're going to make a movie about a florist, please hire a floral designer. Please hire a florist as an advisor. This guy, Seiichi, is putting together these first of all, he's got this shop of beautiful flowers, and every time he's pulling out weeds, he's pulling out like wildflowers, and he's like putting 3 or 4 of them together, and that's his bouquet. And it's like, you're a florist, you're an artist. You could do better than this. If I went to a florist and they gave that to me and charged, in Japan everything's bloody expensive, and that was their design, I would say, thank you, I'm going to shop somewhere else. And it's quite funny when he brings this floral bouquet to the married couple, to the married woman and her husband. Oh my God, it was horrible. It was downright ugly. So you know what, filmmakers, you're making a film about a florist, hire a florist as a consultant. Doesn't take too much money to do that. So anyhow, Mellow opened yesterday in Hong Kong as well. With any luck, it'll only last as long as a bunch of cut flowers. It is really bad, unless you're 30-something female single office worker, etc. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. This is it's slim pickings. The other films. I know there's a Russian film that opened yesterday. I didn't see it. I think there's I don't know. There's a few other films, but nothing much to see. So you know what? Stay home. Not worth it. Not worth it at all. Sorry. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. Remember to wear your mask in public. Wash your hands 20 times a day. See ya.